All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Would anyone like to hold this for me? You want to be my holder again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wonder
guys,
if poster even didn't
it's going to
work.
be a fun one today. This is a refutation speech. That means I have to say something is right and something is wrong. And so I'm going to talk about the education system a little bit and how children are not engaged in school, or older children, I guess teenagers. So I read an interesting fact, and it is that for every second that a teacher waits after they ask a question, another student, or more students rather, will be prepared to answer. Like with every second they wait, more and more students would be ready to answer. If you recall, being in a classroom and having that smart kid always raise his hand first and be like, it's A, 2 plus 2 is 4. And then, I know I was the kid that would sit in the back and be like, oh, what is the answer to that? For a couple of seconds at least. So there's my interesting fact. We're going to be talking about why it is that the school system is not engaging and students are not engaged in this unengaging school system, and how we can get them engaged a little better, or how teachers can. I guess it doesn't really matter for most of us, but aside from that. So the Times of India, based on a 225 studies that they compiled from the US, said that 55% more students will fail a lecture-based course versus a course that you do stuff in more than listen to lectures. And so that's because lecture-based courses are very boring. I'm sure most people know that. You sit in a room for an hour and listen to a person talk about the same thing for an hour, and eventually you're going to lose focus or nod off a little bit, maybe even go to sleep if you're that kind of person. Here. So it's just no good. Like, who's going to go to school to listen to somebody talk for an hour whenever they're forced to as a teenager, and then want to go to college to do that later, unless they're motivated by money after they graduate college, you know, whatever it may be. So we're going to talk a little bit about a student that was featured in the Journal of Adolescence and Adult Literacy. So this student that would fall asleep in class and not pay any attention, and it was a literature class. But then she would leave the class and she would go talk to all of her friends in the hallway, and she would read these advanced books that, like, you know, had really high level language in it, but she was doing horrible in her literacy class, or literature class, I'm sorry. And so one of the things that was connected there on why she could have been doing so badly, so poorly, or was so disengaged, was because she's involved in, her family is involved in a lot of gang warfare, right? And then you come to school and that sort of thing isn't really talked about. You can't speak to your teacher about how, you know, dad shot some dude last week and then drug him in the backyard in your class. So there's kind of a disconnect there where you can talk about certain things in school, but you can't talk about certain other things. So you've got these students with these extenuating circumstances that feel like they're left out of class, if you will, because somebody says, we went to Florida this weekend, it was a great vacation, we visited Disneyland while we were out there, and the other student's not going to get up and talk about, you know, how there were people breaking into the house across the street last night. Anyway, so now we're going to move on, talk a little bit about what it means to have a kid engaged in school. So the Journal of Youth and Adolescence, not to be confused with the Journal of Adolescence and Adult Literacy, that was a different one. It posted an article that said there are 3 main needs of students in school, and those are competence, relatedness, and autonomy. And so that means basically the student feels competent if they feel like they are able to reach their goals in class. They feel a relatedness whenever they can relate to their teacher in some way, or, you know, have a conversation with them. And they are autonomous whenever they get their lesson or whatever it may be, their task, and they can do it on their own without having their hand held the entire way. So that goes back to these lecture-based courses and how there's really no autonomy there. It doesn't take a lot of, I guess, confidence to listen to someone talk, but there's a certain level of can you absorb it or not. And the relatedness to the teacher would be like if you're in a class where the teacher does all the talking and they don't call on anyone in the class, they don't ask questions or do anything like that, then you're not going to feel very related to them. It's an interesting concept, but I want to say that the classes that don't engage their students have a very poor rate of retainment. Another statistic, let's see which one it was never mind, I already said that one. So basically, to sum this up, we're saying that that if we want students to succeed in the future, students that are coming up now with all this access to technology, that are more analytical than they've ever been before, coming into these same courses that we've been teaching for the past 50 years or so, we're going to have to change the way that we do school, such as engaging them more, having them do more themselves rather than just listen to someone talk about what they're doing. And that should lead to a better future for those students. So thank you for listening. I just